Welcome to Powerful Women Revealed. My guest today is Rosemarie Lanchester, and her business is everythingyouwishfor.com, and she's been on the radio version of Powerful Women Revealed several times. She specializes in several modalities which ultimately help people alleviate their emotional and physical pain. The modalities she utilizes are self-hypnosis and muscle testing, EFT, which is also known as emotional freedom technique or tapping, and as well as energy clearing work. Rosemarie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nicole. So great to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. You're a delightful guest, as always. Take us back just for a little bit about your bio and what you've been doing these past few years.
Well, I got involved with metaphysics many years ago. I took some classes at Massasoit initially on how to improve my life through hypnosis. And it was very intriguing. It made dramatic changes in my life at the time. And I've been guided to find a way to be happier at the last parts of my life. And then all of a sudden, I had become aware of a conference being held about emotional freedom technique, and it had really intrigued me because I watched several clips on the internet about it, and it seemed very empowering. So I had driven to Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, where they were having a 3-day intensive conference taught by one of the gurus of this technique, Carol Look, and it was hosted by Jessica and Nick Ortner. Nick has written a very powerful book called The Tapping Solution. It's on the bestsellers list. And a month after that, I had 2 acute strokes. So if I didn't know this technique, I feel I would have been very compromised. While having the symptoms of the strokes themselves, I did this tapping technique, and it never resulted in any kind of compromise of my health. So I knew then I was saved for a reason to help bring this powerful technique to the mainstream.
And so your business started in 2009,
yes,
and then this happened in 2010.
Yes.
So you knew that this was really meant for you to be in this field.
Right, and at one point I had the fear of restroking because when you have a stroke, it has actually 93 different problems associated with stroke. Not that you're going to have 93, but for me, it would have been impeding my speech, my ability to think cognitively. It would have eliminated my being able to breathe on my own, swallow on my own, do things that we all take for granted. So I had 2 blood clots broke off and hit different parts of my brain. And because I knew the technique, I did it right away. And they could not believe that I was not compromised.
In the hospital?
In the hospital.
You were tapping away.
Well, what else do you have to do?
Yeah.
They put you in the emergency room and they leave you, and I stroked once at home and once while I was in the hospital. And then they discovered that I have atrial fibrillation, which means the blood pools in the heart and breaks off. That's why people with AFib, is what they call it, are very much susceptible to strokes because of this particular condition. And because, if a blood clot hits your brain and you don't know what to do, you could be seriously harmed by it.
And so after that happened and you came out of the hospital, you really focused more on the EFT?
Well, I was in fear a lot after the strokes, frankly, because I was afraid I was going to stroke again, and then, well, I was living in the future, what would happen, that kind of thing. And then I thought, you know, I just have to get out and do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I just started to focus on bringing it to an audience that would most benefit by it. But it took me a little while, because at first I developed a program on dental fear, and that took a long time to develop, but then it wasn't fulfilling me. It wasn't getting me up in the morning. I need to know that I'm making a difference in someone's life.
And in the world.
And in the world,
and
definitely.
Really, and helping people, you know, resolve or uncover or conquer emotional and physical pain, because you've experienced it yourself. You're the perfect person to go to.
Well, I think the reason this all happened, I'm one of those reason people, that everything in my life has happened for a reason. I was focusing on my husband's problems at the time. I wasn't paying attention to my own physical health. I hadn't seen a doctor in 10 years. I was getting symptoms, and I ignored them, and then I stroked. So it's kind of a lesson to take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anyone else.
Yes.
So I've been in that caregiver mode, which is very stressful, because you really lose your own self-identity, as well as how can I help this person that I love. And if you can't help them, then it gives you a feeling of really frustration, which is a negative belief, and then you can just spiral down.
Yeah, and you can get lost.
Yes.
Really lost in...
Because you feel alone. You feel like, even though there are many people in your position, you feel alone. Your friends don't understand what you're going through, because nobody can understand unless they've experienced this on their own.
Yeah.
So I knew that would be, that's really the reason I'm here. It's nice to know that you have a purpose in life that you can uncover.
Yes. Now, so you do focus on the muscle testing and the EFT and the energy clearing work. How do you know which to, you know, help your clients with?
Well, the typical person would come to me is a woman between the ages of 35 and 75. Not that I haven't seen men, but men aren't usually as open as women are. Women know when they're not happy, and a happy wife is a happy life. So, and I can only speak for myself saying this as well. And I've learned several different techniques that I feel enhance to determine the root cause of why we're in pain. And a lot of times we don't know. We might consciously think that there's something wrong, but our subconscious, and this is where my knowledge of the subconscious is so important. I teach people how to access the subconscious. And so they're accessing the subconscious, where all our behavior, all our belief systems reside. All our memories from the time we've really been conceived are held in the subconscious mind. And subconsciously we go along and we think we know what's going on, but our belief systems are held in the subconscious, and oftentimes we are not aware of them. So the muscle testing allows my clients to access what's going on in the subconscious. Because your muscle cannot lie. It tells the truth 100% of the time.
So say this again, your belief system is in the subconscious.
Yes.
And so even though you're going through everyday life in your conscious state,
yes,
everything is driven from that subconscious.
Yes, and that's why people sabotage themselves. Because they'll say, oh, I want a new profession, for example. And they start off on a certain goal, but all of a sudden something will distract them. And they have fear around this goal, even though they don't know why. And it could stem from something that happened in them at a very early age.
Oh, so they subconsciously sabotage the
Yes,
goal.
yes.
And then there's obstacles in the way of them getting to the goal.
Yes.
But they don't really realize that
They
that's what's
don't
happening.
realize it, and then they beat themselves up over it. Oh, I should have done this. Why didn't I do that? And that type of thing.
And
it's,
we all kind of do this
we
to
all
a degree.
do it to a
So
to a
I do it to a
degree,
degree.
most
Everyone
definitely.
does it to a degree. We all sort of sabotage, and I guess it's almost a, it's not a struggle, but it's a challenge to every day.
It is a challenge.
Focus on the things that you do want to make sure you're getting there.
Well, it's kind of like you could strive all your life to be a better person, for example. You could strive all your life to fulfill your dream, but unless you understand what's going on in the background, and your subconscious is just like a computer, it accepts a program, and the program it accepts are your thoughts, and what you're thinking all day long is your program. And the first time I heard that, I was the culmination of what I was thinking all day long.
Yes.
I thought, boy, am I in trouble? I need to. No, this was
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah.
I need to just change my thoughts, and that's where we begin. I teach people to become just aware of what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And if they say things like, I can't afford, or I feel bad, or I should have done this, I could have done that, it's just self-defeating. So no matter what you do, how many classes you take, how much you spend on education, if you feel ultimately that you're unsafe or it's not safe to proceed, and that's one of the reasons I teach people how to muscle test. Is it safe for me to move forward? If you're getting a weak test, it means no. So then why do I feel unsafe?
Yeah.
So then we probe further.
Yep, you keep uncovering.
We probe gently. I want to make my clients feel safe. And I spend a lot of time initially speaking to them because I want to empower them. And I want to make this as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And I want them to be aware that they are the most important person in their life.
I've said it to my kids many times.
And mothers in particular are always focused on the well-being of their children and everyone else. But you really, in order for you to be good enough for your children, you really owe your children a healthy mother. And if you're not healthy, you can, even your energy, if you are just smiling on the outside, but inside you're a melting pot of emotion, your energetic footprint is understood by your children on an emotional level. It's not a spoken thing, but if you're always worried and anxious, they're picking up on that and they behave according to how you are. It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Well, I do have a little fair amount of stress in my life. So
most people do, Nicole, so you're not alone.
I'm normal, right?
Right.
Well, so you just said about, anxious, and there's some anxiety that goes on before I come on to do the show, or even the radio show, or what have you. And, networking, the things that we do. And so I need to be more conscious and aware that even though I'm not saying things out loud, that my kids are picking up on that energy.
Yep.
Yeah, because it is energy, and everyone responds to energy.
For example, I had a woman come to me, and she had hopes that her son was going to play, I think, professional baseball. And every time, and he had problems pitching. And every time he got up to the mound, she silently said he's never going to make it. And he never did. And I told her, I said, your thought around him failing is an influence to him.
It is.
So once I retrained her, so to speak, and I trained him to visualize the ideal outcome of what he chose to do. He hit a no-hitter and he never had done that before.
Really?
So that's exciting. I want to hear feedback from my clients to ask them how they're feeling, how they're doing. And it's not like I'm grading them, but this is all for their benefit.
Oh, yes. And the reprogram that you're discussing is the self-hypnosis. And
It's
say
part of
again, what is self-hypnosis? It's the reprogramming of your, not your mind, but your subconscious mind.
Well, your subconscious mind, so just before you go to sleep at night, your brainwave activity is in the alpha state. It's a certain amount of cycles per second. There's 4 different types of cyclical aspects to your brain.
Okay.
So in the alpha state, your subconscious mind is most influenced by positive thought. So I teach people, pick an easy sentence. Say it could be, every day of my life is better. I mean, that encompasses
That's
everything.
easy. Yeah, that's,
right?
yep.
And it's easy to remember. Every day I have more clarity, or I feel empowered, or whatever it might be. Something simple. Believable.
One thing
at a time. You don't want to read
Like
a
I was
litany
doing.
of things, right? That can come way down the road. But for now, something as simple as every day I feel better and better is empowering, and you say it 10 times before you go to sleep. Now, it's a process to remember to do that. So you write little notes all through the house. Remember.
Yep.
Remember. That's you'll know what remember means.
Yep.
And so just upon awakening, right after you wake up, your brainwave activity is also in alpha, another way to program your mind. So anybody that's thinking negative thoughts on a consistent basis is never going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's a process. It's a process not to beat yourself up, because you have to start thinking, how many years have I been thinking this way? And where do I want to go? How do I want to live a better quality of life? And it starts by being aware of your thoughts.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of different techniques, something basic. I tell people to journal, write everything down, because as you start your healing work, your mind is going to gently remind you of something you need to heal. So for example, I tested myself, because I'm always doing this, I tested myself for fear of failure the other day. And it wasn't, I didn't have fear of failure, I had fear of success. Which is interesting.
Well, a lot of people
fear
have
of change,
that.
fear of success, all sorts of things.
Fear of success is really the fear of the unknown.
Yes.
Or more is going to be expected of me.
Yes.
I'm already
and what
giving.
If I fail?
I'm already giving
exactly.
so much now. Oh my God, if I'm even more successful than I am now, you can't spread myself that thin. I'm just one person.
Right. So it causes a lot of stress. What we don't need is more stress, but what we're thinking again may never come about. It's our own fear. Maybe we were rejected as children. Maybe, and for some weird reason, we take on everyone else's opinion of what we should think. What we do think and who we are and who we think we are totally different.
I love that you said that to me one time during one of our interviews, because I think that's a really powerful statement. Who we think we are and who we are 2 different things.
Well, most often people are very critical of themselves. They expect to be totally perfect 100% of the time. They have to be the perfect mom, they have to be the perfect wife, they have to be the perfect provider, they have to do homemaking, and they have to shop, and who wouldn't be overwhelmed at the end of the day? And oftentimes, if they're not taking care of themselves, even if it's one night a week, they go out with the girls for dinner and a movie, they start resenting things on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And that resentment can really be downloaded into the body, and it will come out as physical pain down the line.
And really, the resentment that we're feeling, it's almost like we resent ourselves for
We're aggravated at ourselves for not
yes,
taking care of ourselves.
and for not following what we wanted to do because we were following what everyone else was telling us to do. And that's where that resentment is, dangerous because
it is most dangerous.
We're resenting ourselves, and that's not good.
What I find the universal thing that most people feel, they're not worthy. They're not worthy to live the quality of life that they deserve through some weird thing. It could have been someone bullied them as a kid. It could be their own parents didn't really know how to parent and criticized them a lot. People take on misconceptions all the time. So my work with my clients is really to uncover what's going on. Excuse me. Some of them know, some of them don't know. And through the different techniques that I teach, I want it to be easy. I want them to feel safe. And when they're with me, they're unconditionally loved. I don't judge people. I just love them. And people need love more than anything. They need love, and all we can do.
All we need is love.
We do.
Yes.
But first, learning to love yourself is challenging.
And I love what you say about, the commitment we need to love ourselves enough.
Yes.
We're not loving ourselves enough.
Exactly.
Because I can't remember what you said at our last interview, but it was something about how it's like a false love. It's not like a real love. We're not really loving ourselves if we're not devoting the time that we need to uncover these things.
Well, a lot of times, now I had been in talk therapy at one point in my when my ex-husband and I sought help way too late, and by that time the resentments had already been formed. But what people do when they go to traditional therapy, and I'm not putting traditional therapy down, well,
there's value in talk therapy.
There is value, and as long as you're progressing, I mean, a lot of people come to me and say, I've been going to a therapist for 20 years, and I'm like, how's that working for you? I mean, 20 years, if somebody was coming to me every week for 20 years, I'd think I was in the wrong profession, frankly. But that's just my own personal opinion.
And what you do is not talk therapy.
No, it's not talk therapy. A lot of my clients go talk, and I said, I have to interrupt you because you're not going to glean a benefit if you continue to talk. We really have to do the work. So I'll teach them tapping. And the tapping really takes, so I tell them, take a sentence, give me a sentence that gives you an emotional charge of uncomfortable, of something uncomfortable, on a scale from 1 to 10.
And 10 being the most uncomfortable.
The most uncomfortable.
This makes me feel horrible.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so tell me a little bit about what's around this issue, and then whatever the story is.
And you only need a little bit of information.
I only need a little bit of information. And I'll give my own example. When I was young, I was fairly lonely. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I had a pet parakeet. And the parakeet and I were best buds. And I had such a special bond with that little bird. I cannot even describe it. But one day, of course, now my parents want to let it out of the cage, and back then you didn't clip wings. Now you clip wings so the bird can't fly away, but back then they didn't do that. So the bird we started training the bird. The bird would sit on everybody's cereal bowl and would engage. The bird was just a lovely little pet. Well, one day somebody knocks on the door, and I go to open the door. The bird flies away. And I was devastated because a parakeet can't survive in the outdoors.
They're tropical, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what was worse is my parents punished me for letting the bird out the window, like I really wanted to do that. It took me years to process the guilt of that bird flying away and the sadness I held in my body. So something that happened years before manifested in a painful condition for me. And this is how the mind works. So
and even some people might think, well, that's not a very traumatic thing to happen. It's, you know, a bird and it flew away. But regardless of the level of how traumatic you felt, there are many different things that happen to us throughout our lifetime. Some things traumatic, some things not, and the accumulation, if we don't resolve.
If you don't resolve, and everybody has this, everybody has trauma, and what you consider trauma and what I consider trauma are totally different things. It's all about the person's opinion. It could be the loss of a pet. A lot of people hold guilt. And that reminds me of a client that I had come to me with pain all over his body. And he was a young man. I felt he was 57. I think that's young. And the older you get, the younger everybody else seems. And he was harboring enormous guilt about an accident that he caused when he was 17 years old. So 50 years later, he has pain throughout his body. So in a very short amount of time, I evaluated that, because I know about the subconscious, I evaluated who was harboring guilt because he kept telling me he was injuring himself continuously. And he worked in a position where he was constantly moving. He had, you know, physical labor, and so he was in agony, the poor guy. So after 3 times, just 3 visits, he's pain-free now, and he had pain all over his body. So that's how the work, how these techniques can help someone.
Well, it's scientific.
It is scientific.
So the tapping techniques that we're referring to, EFT, you tap on the top of the head?
The top of the, well, some people end at the head, I start at the head. It's tap, tap, tap on the top of your head, your eyebrow point, right where the eyebrow forms. The side of the eye on the bone, under your eye, which by the way is...
Can't wear glasses when you're doing this.
The stomach meridian. So if you ever have a stomach ache or if you're nauseous or anything, just tap there. Under your nose, your chin, either side of your collarbone, and under your arm.
Under your arm.
Okay. And these points are specific scientific endpoints of the major energy centers of the body closest to the surface of the skin. So when you're tapping, while you're recalling this uncomfortable memory, you're really disconnecting the emotional charge that it has upon you. So the part of your brain that holds the stress response is called the amygdala. And this tapping motion allows that amygdala to calm itself down in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
So, I mean, I was even upset the other day because my husband has a lot of problems and he's resistant to my help. And there's never a good time, but it's frustrating for me, and I just want to help him because I love him. So I was crying because I have to do my own work. If I can't help myself, how can I help you? And so I'm very aware that I need healing, and I feel that makes me human, and my clients need to know that I'm human just like they are.
Yes, and I have to say, when we first were introduced and we were having a phone conversation, immediately you were revealing things to me, and I felt very safe and comfortable because I'm like, wow, she's sharing this with me, and now I can relate to her. And now I'm comfortably sharing things with you, and it's locked in the safe, in the vault, as they say on Seinfeld. So I did feel very safe. Now you're back to your husband.
Well, I was crying and I'm tapping, and at the time I really didn't think I was going to be able to feel better. I did break down, I bawled my eyes out, but the whole time I'm tapping and I'm talking. Within a half an hour, which would have taken probably days for me to process before this, I felt so much better, I could not tell you. And it seems miraculous, it really does.
It does.
And sometimes people question it, but one of the best things about this, you don't have to believe in it in order for it to work.
I think that's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
It is really amazing.
It is really so cool.
And I actually do believe in it, and but I'm still amazed because
it amazes me, and I've been doing this for a long time.
We're like, so we were on the phone one time, and I was sharing something. I think I had money blocks, money issues. Have a lot of money issues, and so we were on the phone, and I shared a statement that was a 10, and then by the time you walked me through the whole tapping thing, it was like a 2 or a 0 even. I think, didn't I hit a 0 at one point?
Yes. And that's why I have people write it down, because then they can go back in a week.
The statement.
The statement that gave you that emotional charge.
A statement that sends you off the rooftop,
Yep.
like this statement is so disturbing to me.
Right.
Makes me feel really upset, breaks my heart, makes me want to cry, makes me angry, whatever the emotion is.
Right, exactly.
They write down that statement, and then as you're tapping the statement.
Yes.
Right? You
Yep.
go through the tapping, and you're saying the statement through all these different tappings.
Well, it depends on the event. If say you were a little kid and you made your mother breakfast on Mother's Day, and the mother was very perfectionistic. A lot of people have perfectionistic mothers. So nothing is ever good enough. So say you burnt the toast, and instead of her going, oh, this is great, and kind of burying the toast in the mattress, she says, oh, this is burnt, and I don't like it. So now, in your child's mind, you're thinking, I'm not good enough. I should have been blah, blah, blah. So maybe
I'm not smart enough.
I'm not smart enough. So now you grow up, the physical body grows up, but you're still that little inner child.
Yes.
And you might never want, I don't know, this sounds weird, but you might never want toast again. Or, or you hear the word toast and it triggers you.
Yeah.
And it brings you back into this. You might not remember the actual incident, but it brings you back into the feeling I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And that I'm not good enough manifests in many different ways.
In your life. Emotionally and physically.
Emotionally and physically. And left unprocessed, all these emotional traumas, all these emotional opinions, these things that have happened to us will definitely cause you physical pain down the line.
Yeah.
And also illness. People manifest diabetes, cancer, breast cancer, all sorts of things because emotionally they have never been able to process these things that come up until now. And I tell them, now you know this. There's no going back. No going back. No more victimhood.
Yeah, because
you have a tool.
The subconscious is something that you can't put into words. Isn't that right?
Right.
I think you taught me that.
Right.
And then once you can put it into words, it's not it's you know.
Right.
Once you know, you know.
Right.
You can't go
Once
back.
you know. And even though it's much easier to be a victim, and I also addressed what are the benefits of staying stuck. Because some people have benefits. They may be getting disability insurance. They may be doing other things, or they may get a lot of attention being ill. So it depends on the benefit to the person of staying stuck. And we also address it. So even though there's a benefit of staying stuck, I'm choosing to move forward, whatever it might be. Yeah, exactly.
There's some kind of if we're choosing to stay stuck and we're not moving past or beyond, there's some reason.
There's a reason, and we might not even be aware of it. So until EFT came along, people never knew how to process these emotions. So for immediate relief, they'd go shopping. They'd eat, they'd drink alcohol, they'd have random sex, they'd have that immediate need fulfillment right away. But then those things, probably in the short term, make people feel more guilty. Because oftentimes if you're a compulsive shopper, for example, and you're spending money you don't have, then it's, oh my goodness, now what do I do? So you eat a whole gallon of ice cream or whatever you do. But it's not something that's healthy.
Yeah, and going back to your example about your parakeet, and then you gave that great example about when you're a child and it's Mother's Day and you burnt the toast. The levels are again, I want to stress that, you know, the toast, it might seem to one person a very insignificant
Right, exactly,
thing.
yes.
However, in some people, that was a huge, powerful moment in their life
Yes.
that is now dictating everything that they do.
Everything they do. And once we uncover, which doesn't take that much time, but someone has to be open. They need to want to change.
Yeah.
So I had a client recently who was very closed. There was no emotion in what he was telling me, and I knew I couldn't help him. And I didn't want to, I created a script for him. Because my goal is to make a difference in someone's life. I don't want. It's not about money for me. If I had money, I'd give it away.
Yeah.
But I want to make a difference. I want to give someone. I've saved lives. I know I have.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was the energy clearing and how much that has helped people.
Yes. Now, tell me, give us a little overview of what energy clearing is.
Okay. We all of us have negative attachments that we pick up from all the influences that are out there in the world. We have influences by the media. We have influences that the economy is bad. The government can't pay their bills. There's a lot of fear-based thinking. And what happens, and also there are things that are unseen that people may or may not believe in, but there's energy, everything's energy. So there's negative energy. Why people do mass murdering and killing, and they've got the dark side is really rooted in their fields. And once that happens to a certain degree, it spirals people down, and then they never can pull out of it. And people come to me and they say, my child has a very high anxiety level. In fact, somebody came to me recently, her young daughter, who was old, just about legal age, had tremendous anxiety, couldn't hold down a job. She was going to school, but she was constantly in anxiety mode. They had taken her back and forth to several different doctors and psychiatrists and everything, and nobody else gave her any tool but a pill. So that's the answer to everything in the medical model as far on the Western medical model. There's a lot of prescription.
There's some value to that. But if you reach for that for every little hangnail, then
exactly.
It's not a good idea.
You can be on 20 meds and they all interact with one another and everything. And again, I never tell people not to take their meds. That's not my place. I certainly don't want to put myself in any kind of position to influence anyone like that. But so anyway, she came and I did an energetic clearing on her, which I do with muscle testing. I measure how much she has, and so she had a tremendous amount. And
a tremendous amount of what? What was she?
It's called an entity.
Oh.
And it's like the dark side wants you to be unhappy. There's the light. There's good, there's evil. Anybody that believes in good has to believe in evil. So, and I don't want to scare anybody, but this is real. So the evil side of things wants you to fail, doesn't want you to succeed, wants you hopeless, wants you sad, wants you violent, wants you angry. The good side wants you to be hopeful and encouraged and all the things good means to you. So through the power of testing my own muscle, I determine how many of these energies are in this person. And anybody that's very anxious, tired, lethargy, hopelessness, anger, fear, a lot of fear, these entities can evoke. And if I clear that energy away without this person even being consciously aware that it is happening.
I think that's amazing.
So if you had a husband or even a co-worker that you needed to work with on a regular basis, or even your boss or someone that you are just not getting along with, there's an energetic exchange between he and you or her and you that can be severed.
And you can help clear that
energy. I clear that energy, and all of a sudden you wake up and one day and you go in to meet this person and they're totally different. And this is what happened with this young girl. She had tremendous negative energy around her. And she had started off, had some physical problems at a young age, and she attracted a lot from the hospitals. Anybody that's in nursing, any hospital, anybody that works in a nursing home where there's death, dying, all these things.
It takes a really strong person to be in that kind of a field.
And unless they're happy all the time, which most people aren't happy, their fields will become weakened, and this energy is attracted to them. So I cleared this girl, and her father made a comment that she totally changed overnight. It was just so cool. Aww. So that gives me a lot of joy.
And the energy can be with people, but it also can be in buildings.
A lot of people live in haunted houses.
Furniture. I have a lot of antique
furniture holds energy.
And so how do I know if my antique furniture has bad energy or good energy?
Well, I had a young woman who said, "Oh, I hate sitting at my kitchen table." She had a lot of, she understood energy, but she didn't know why. So I cleared her room, her kitchen table, her dining room table. The basement had a lot of negative energy, and she changed her whole viewpoint, and she became very comfortable eating at the kitchen table. It's so interesting. Your automobile holds energy. Your furniture holds energy. So I have an easy chair, and sometimes I feel that I even tested this for the new year. I said, "Geez, does this chair hold energy?" Yeah. So I cleared the chair. I know that sounds weird, but if you're sitting in a chair that is holding negative energy, all of a sudden your mood is going to change, and you're going to become sad.
I think that's really interesting.
So I even cleared a dark energy from a hospital recently.
Oh, yes.
And that was very interesting.
Can you share a little bit about that?
I don't see why not, because I didn't charge for this. I wanted to do business with this facility. And the person in charge of the staff came to me and said that she felt a very strong presence of evil in this subfloor of this hospital. And I measured, and there were seven spirits who had died on the property before the building was built. Oh. And from the 1700s.
Wow.
And I don't get into who they were, why they died, doesn't matter to me, but I sent them all into the light. And then there was a dark energy that wasn't of the light. You know, I tell them, have you ever had a physical form? If I get a no, that means they're a dark energy, and they don't want to go into the light. Oh. So I don't want to send them, I just don't want them, period. So I send them back from whence they came. Oh. And I use angels. I work with angels, primarily St. Michael. And it's not a religious thing. It's just a power that I avail myself to that helps.
And so you are a vehicle?
I'm a vehicle. I'm a vehicle to send those that need to be in another place, go to where they need to be. I tell them, hey, I talk to them just like I would you and I. If you are afraid of judgment, as many are, they've been taught if they don't follow the rules, they are never going to be welcomed into heaven. I'll say, if you don't like it, you can come back. Well, that makes them feel good. And who wouldn't like it? I mean, I'd like to be there where there's no problems, no fear, no worry, no pain.
Yeah. No.
Right?
Yes.
But the other element I send back from where it came from. It can't impose its influence on any other person or any other place or thing. And she said she actually had people coming up to her feeling much lighter.
Oh.
So this is all real. We all leave an energetic footprint behind.
And all of the energies, what are they called? The spirits?
They're called entities. There are entities. There are human spirits that perhaps have passed away, that either fear death, don't know they're dead. They can be confused. Like if you're driving down the road, try never to be unhappy or angry or stressed out, because there have been so many people that have died along these roadways, and their energies stay wandering around. They're not, you know. I had a client come to me who was always on the road. As a salesperson, she said, I saw this horrific accident, and shortly after that I became very emotional. She couldn't sleep. She had a lot of problems. Why? Because that young man who just passed away hopped into her fields and caused this discord within her. And when I cleared her, it left. So it's powerful stuff.
It very much is.
And it can change the quality of your life in dramatic ways. So I feel that God gave me this gift, and I'm very happy to perform it.
Well, now we are almost out of time. We do
I
have
know,
several more minutes, though. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to share with the viewers today?
Well, I was thinking if I could just to address a couple of stories,
Okay.
if that's okay. I had a young woman that actually called me as a result of one of the shows I did on your show.
On the radio show.
On the radio show, and she had a fear of choking.
Oh, you told me about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she had not been able to eat any solid food for 10 years.
That's amazing.
Can you imagine?
So everything she was eating.
She had to puree everything.
Oh.
And she couldn't even swallow water at certain times. And after the first session we had, which was about an hour and a half, I usually tell people, plan to come about an hour and a half to 2 hours, just because I need you to feel comfortable with me.
Yeah.
To take
There's
some
a
intake.
process.
This is a process, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. And she came, and she had an issue that we addressed. And right after that, she went home for the first time and ate that she had had any solid food in 10 years.
Wow.
And had been eating ever since.
And it was just after one session of the tapping?
After one session.
Wow.
It was just identifying where this root came from, which we did. And then
and putting a level on it, and then
putting a level,
and then
you know,
doing
whatever she felt was appropriate for her. And then I just asked for guidance. I never know what I'm going to say. If the people that I work with have a spiritual belief system, I invite those realms in. If they just believe in the universal force of good, I invite any energy in that can help assist in the process. And then I can see their eyes light up. The eyes truly are the mirrors of the soul. And I love seeing someone that's sad, because you can't fake that. If you're sad, your eyes show that you're sad.
Well, you love seeing them switch, and
then
all of a sudden have that
and then
joy.
all of a sudden their eyes are lit, and I just feel so grateful that I've been able to help make a difference in their life.
That's amazing.
So I feel that I've been chosen and not in an ego-based way.
Oh, I believe that too.
But I really want to do this more with groups. For example, nursing. Nursing really needs programs like this. I'm trying to coordinate a program now with Plymouth Rehab.
Okay.
And I'm thinking of going around to different rehab hospitals.
Yeah.
And because the medical fields are under enormous stress.
Pressure.
And they're also influenced by all these energies we talked about. So, and they all have pressure. Everybody's working too hard. They're trying to do everything. They all have families. The kids are in 85 different things every week, and they're trekking them back and forth. And when I was a kid, we walked everywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you can't
nobody
do that
got
today.
a ride. Are you kidding me? You'd have to be on your deathbed before someone would take. They might give you a ride to the hospital, but that was about the size of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so.
Now, the one last thing I want to talk about is your core beliefs. Because if your core beliefs, this is what you said to me at one point, if they're not incongruent with your desires, no matter what you read, no matter what programs you take, you know, or what lectures you attend, you know, you're never going to achieve your goals. So does it really all come down to your core beliefs? And really reprogramming.
It's learning how to, first of all, addressing what your core beliefs are. So I tell everybody, write down what you believe.
Yeah.
There was someone came recently and I said, I just want you to take time and write down 5 things you believe about you. In a negative way, not a positive way.
Oh.
Well, actually, she did, but she did a lot of positives and then one very negative, and she did, you know, another list, and it was all positive, but one very negative. And I said, I want you to read this from an outsider's viewpoint, and I want you to give me your feedback about what you think the hidden message is here.
Oh, okay.
So she said, well, I have this tendency to be negative. You know, through stuff that happened to her in her life.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, I've had people starting businesses, women, starting like businesses that just never get beyond a certain point. And it's all because there's fear, and again, it's normal, but it is something you can correct.
Yes.
By a process.
By uncovering,
acknowledging. First of all, identifying what you need. And how do you know unless you start really thinking, okay, what do I need?
Yeah.
What would make me happy? I mean, some people are in a profession they hate.
Yeah.
But they're locked into that profession because they have fear around losing the money.
Yes.
What will I do? I'm getting older. Nobody wants me. Blah blah blah.
So they're living a fear-based life.
Fear-based life, and
Yeah.
fear is the dark side. And believe me, the dark side is real, and it wants you. And unless you learn to protect yourself, you can protect yourself. And I teach people how to do that too. I'll teach them how to protect themselves and their children. And to try to let go of the fear, because the fear locks you when it wants a grip on you. And then once you're locked in that fear, you can't sleep, you're anxious all the time, you act out. Oh, I did want to mention one little thing. Do I have time?
I think we are pretty much out of time. Okay, well, if you can make it real quick. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
It was just a woman came to me who was living in a haunted house, and we cleared her house, and her children came up to her afterwards, even though she didn't tell the kids. And they said, we feel totally different here, Mommy.
So she did not tell them that she was
didn't tell
having
them,
it cleared?
No. And this energy was approaching the kids, as it always does. It goes after the kids. And she couldn't afford to move. And so I felt like I made a huge difference in her life.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah, so it made me feel really like, wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just thank you for allowing me to be a vehicle for someone else.
Oh, well, you are such a doll, and I enjoyed having you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're a delightful person to chat with, and I just love all of your insight and everything that you bring. You're just a great inspiration.
Well, thank you.
So I want to thank Rosemarie again for being here today. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you will tune in next Tuesday at 7 p.m. which is our time slot for Powerful Women Revealed in studio. And I hope you'll also tune in every Sunday at 12:15 to 95.9 WATD FM for Powerful Women Revealed Radio. And until next time, have a great week, and remember, knowledge is power. I want to thank you so much for watching Powerful Women Revealed. The Power Show is really a compelling way for entrepreneurial women to capture and share who they are, why they are so passionate about what they do, and how their business is unique and stands above the rest. Most women entrepreneurs work from our home offices, like myself, because it provides the extra stability we need as caregivers. So it's even more important to communicate who we are and why our products or services are exceptional, and really communicate that in a powerful way. Powerful Women Revealed is a unique platform for women to really convey what their mission is in this life and what they stand for. It is a place to use their voice and give their noble message the validity it deserves. The Power Show is for the woman who has something to say and will stop at nothing until her voice is heard. It is a chance to reveal the truth, ignite a fire, and inspire others with our words of wisdom. It is so much more than a show about embracing vulnerability, communicating our beliefs, and bonding with other powerful women. Powerful Women Revealed is about strengthening who we are together, empowering women of all ages to follow their dreams, and inspiring women of our future generations to be the change that they want to see. It is my personal mission to acknowledge such amazing women in business and women entrepreneurs. I have the pleasure of meeting and knowing some really amazing women, and I am absolutely honored to promote them in and beyond my community. When I was first introduced to Rosemarie, I knew from that first moment that she was someone that was brought into my life for a reason. From our first phone call, I admired her for her courage and experience and wisdom that she exemplifies every time I speak with her. With each conversation, I was learning from her and growing tremendously as a human being. Rosemarie has so much experience and insight that I feel like she has all the answers. I know that we don't, but with every question I handed her, she immediately dives into amazing insight and knowledge. What I really admire about Rosemarie is that she herself is so revealing and shares her own fears and self-doubts that immediately I felt safe and connected with her on a deeper level. I love that we are both so passionate about helping people and that we both struggle to end our phone conversations with each other. She's just so amazing. We just want to keep sharing and ultimately learning from one another. Rosemarie is so delightful, and she has such a great sense of humor too. What I really love about Rosemarie is that her underlying mission is to truly help other people get beyond their pain, both emotionally and physically, to live more fulfilling lives. And I am, in part, who I am today by what I have learned from Rosemarie. I am so proud to promote women, promote who they are, what they stand for, and how they are helping people in and beyond the community. I hope you will tune in next Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode, and I want to thank you for watching Powerful Women Revealed.